Welcome to the Big O Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe.
Still the same damn kid from Oklahoma, same old dreams hanging off my shoulders, wishing and waiting on a shooting star for all to see.
And now your host, straight out of Oklahoma, former Buffalo Bill, Jerry Ostrowski.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma.
What is going on, Bills Mafia? It is Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are powered by Believe, and it's once again time for the Big O Show, a show about the Buffalo Bills, hosted by a former Buffalo Bill. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we are in the doldrums of I was told today we're 60 days out from the NFL season, so we are inching closer, but I don't know where you live, but I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is extremely hot down here, 90s, heat index over 100. Not a fun day to be outside, but hey, we appreciate you tuning in as always. If you get a chance, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. We know we got a lot of people to watch the shows, and they haven't hit that subscribe yet. And if you do, it helps us out. So please hit the subscribe button, tell your friends as we inch closer to an NFL season here in 2025. And as we do that, we had the debut of the Off Tackle with John Fina show on Monday. And we'll get into our regular programming, which will be Off Tackle with John Fina Monday, On the Beat Tuesday, Big O Show Wednesday, working on a show for Thursday we think you'll all like. And then, of course, post-game show on Sunday or whatever day the Buffalo Bills in the NFL decide to play on. But something I wanted to get into, and as you know, I host my own show, and then I co-host the other shows here on the Overreaction Network. And then I've been blessed with the opportunity to work with Joe Marino and Jeremy White on Bill Squad on Mondays and Thursdays. Now, as we get closer to the season, we'll change that up a little bit, as we'll also do a post-game show on Bill Squad. But on Monday's edition of Bill Squad, it just was released, the not only some other rankings, but the top 100 NFL list on NFL.com was being released. And somebody that we all know and love was on that list, as well as a couple of others. So kind of led me to believe, or led me to think, what is the case for James Cook versus the Buffalo Bills? And as we know, in the 2024 season, kind of a breakout season for James Cook, 2,007 attempts, 1,009 yards. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry at 4.9 yards, had 16 touchdowns rushing, and added another 2 receiving for a total of 18 touchdowns. In his career rushing the football, James Cook has 533 attempts for 2,638 yards, that 4.9 average, and 20 touchdowns. In 2024 receiving, he had 32 catches, on 38 targets, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. Career-wise, 97 catches, 883 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And as it's been well documented and well talked about, James Cook played last season, 2024 season for the Buffalo Bills, in 48% of the offensive snaps. Now, as we know, James Cook coming up on a contract year. It's been rumored or thought that the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, went to Cook early in the process, early this offseason, to see if they could get a deal done. And that deal did not get done, as James Cook said he wants elite money. What is elite money? What does that look like? Well, when you talk elite money, we're talking Saquon Barkley, we're talking Derrick Henry, we're talking $15 million a year, at least. Obviously, Bills Mafia, as well as Brandon Beane and the likes with the Buffalo Bills organization, feel that's probably a little bit too high for their blood, a little bit too high for their taste, and they have balked on signing that deal, sending James Cook into his last year without a contract extension. We all know that Khalil Shakir, Terrell Bernard, Greg Rousseau, those guys who are draft class guys have all signed extensions, as well as Josh Allen, who came in at $55 million a year, $5 million under the mark that Dak Prescott signed for. But now we do know, guaranteed money wise, I believe most guaranteed money in NFL history. This week, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN started dropping his top 10 list of positions in the NFL on Monday. And in this list, what this list does is Jeremy does this every year, as we know, because this was the list that we had a lot to talk about last year with Josh Allen, as some NFL execs felt that he was, quote unquote, overrated. But Jeremy Fowler, again, surveying NFL executives, drops his top 10 list of positions, dropped his top 10 list of running backs on Monday, and James Cook came in at number 8. Very, very good ranking for Mr. Cook. Some of the executives had him ranked as high as 4th. Some didn't have him ranked. He comes in as a 25-year-old running back going into his 4th season in the NFL, ranked by NFL executives or uphold at 8th. Last year, he was a honorable mention choice. Jeremy Fowler has this to say about James Cook, and some of these comments are from NFL executives. Cook entered the top 10 after a 16-touchdown season in 2024, vaulting from honorable mention to number 8 and pushing Taylor for the 7th spot. He's now tied with O.J. Simpson back in 1975 for the most rushing touchdowns in a single season in Bills history. Fowler goes on to say Cook's 3.1 yards per rush before contact was the 5th highest mark of any qualifying back. Now, that can be deceptive, as James Cook then also has the least amount of yards, or some of the least amount of yards after contact. One NFL executive says that James Cook is dangerous and explosive. Another added, and this was from the AFC, that he's perfect for that offense with a quarterback that spreads things out. He's good in the passing game, catches the ball really well, good in open space. Not sure. Now here's the Bills' defense, if you will, and you can look at this like a courtroom scenario. You got James Cook on one side, you got the Buffalo Bills on the other. This AFC executive says this: not sure he's elite yet, but he's really, really good. We all know Cook. He's averaging 222 carries per season as the starter. And some teams are curious. Again, this would be a Bills argument. Some teams are curious about how he would hold up as a 300-carry number 1 back at 5'11", 190 pounds. But either way, James Cook has earned league-wide respect at a time when he's seeking a contract extension from the Buffalo Bills. Interesting information. Some of this, though, if you listen to it, and it's basically in line with what Bills Mafia and Bills fans have come to pretty much understand or feel about James Cook, in the fact that while he's really, really good, he's not quite elite, as one NFL executive put it. The other thing you have to look at is this: are there enough teams out there? Some feel Detroit. I feel Kansas City, maybe Chicago, a couple others that feel that they do some of the things. And you would think Chicago, because, of course, Ben Johnson leaves Detroit and goes to Chicago. So if he fits in Detroit, then obviously he fits in Chicago, would do the things offensively that need to be done for Cook to be productive. So you think about it, 32 teams in the NFL. James Cook ranked 8th by executives on that list. Another area that has recently come out, which I thought was highly interesting, is the NFL.com has put out their top 100 NFL players, and they're slowly dropping that. And if you're into those kind of things, if you're into the rankings and listings and stuff. Now, look, we're in that time of year, folks. It's all lists. It's all perspective. It's all speculation. As I said to start the show, we're 60 days out from the season, right? We don't see anybody in pads. We don't have any inkling as far as who's doing what, who's where, who looks good, who has injuries, who doesn't. So obviously, tons and tons of speculation. But when you look at this list, and I think this is a pretty legit list, this is something that a lot of these players that are in the league dig up to see if they're ranked in that NFL top 100. You think about it. 53 players on a team, not counting practice squad. 32 teams in the league. We're talking the top 100 players in the league. Elite type stuff. NFL.com, and I believe it's Barnwell who helps put this together, has James Cook ranked 89th. Okay? 89th. That's pretty big time. And again, we already talked about Cook's 2024 stats. But if you look some of the things that Barnwell has to say, Cook has been a godsend for the Bills since coming into his own during the 23 sophomore season, reducing the weight on Josh Allen's shoulders. Last year, he showed his second season breakout was no fluke, along the way developing a newfound knack for scoring. Cook quintupled his career rushing total while tying the league lead in scores on the ground. To me, that's elite type stuff. He was efficient and explosive and currently stands to make a good chunk of change heading into a contract year. Again, another person that's in the mix, another writer that's deep into this stuff, says the same thing. Looking to make a good amount of money heading into a contract year. This is the one thing that I felt was interesting about this 89 ranking for James Cook. And this kind of goes along with what I've been saying about James Cook for quite some time. And if you remember, when he came out of Florida State as a second-round pick, the Bills drafted him as a threat out of the backfield in the passing game. And if you remember his rookie year, his second year in the league, they did just that. Now, he had some drops. And he had some plays where if he had caught the ball, they would have probably been touchdowns. And if I remember correctly, it was 3 to 4 times. But he did make some good catches. And he did some good things in the passing game. And hopefully this season, and it will be interesting because you got a franchise, for all intents and purposes, that understands every time he goes on the field and every time he does something better than he did the last season, that's more money coming out of their pocket. And does he become a back that's at a level where they have to re-sign him? And I'm going to give you an argument for that here in a second, because I think that's something that is very, very interesting. But NFL.com says this about James Cook, which kind of backs up and solidifies what I've been saying about him the whole time after being drafted as a pass-catching running back. James Cook ran to the weak side of the formation on 54.6% of his carries in 2024, the highest rate in the NFL, minimum 150 total carries. He averaged 1.7 yards before contact per carry on runs directed to the weak side compared to just 1 yard before contact per carry on runs directed to the strong side of the formation. Why is that important? Why does that make sense? Why is that something that backs up what I've been saying about James Cook? What those stats say and what that paragraph says is this: James Cook is a hell of a zone runner, and we know this. A back that was drafted to be a pass-catching back has turned into quite the zone runner in this Buffalo Bills offense. And if you watch a lot of all 22, if you break down a lot of the way the Bills block and the way they do things, a lot of their stuff is lateral movement zone. It's something that's come into play in the NFL in the last so many years. When I played, it was more vertical zone or more physicality. You and another person were forcing double teams to move people from point A to point B. Where now we have these big, long linemen, and they're athletic, they're long, they can run and get out of their stance, and hence you have this lateral type movement to where when you have a back that has patience and has tremendous amounts of vision, and a guy that had these similar qualities that was in Buffalo for a long time that now wears a gold jacket is Thurman Thomas. Now, we all know as far as elite and as far as complete, Thurman was at a different level. Even as good as James Cook is, there were no deficiencies in Thurman's game. He caught it out of the backfield, he ran the ball really well, and his pass blocking was exceptional. But when you look at this, he thrives in this running scheme of the Bills, this Aaron Kromer type zone blocking that they do. It's why they can take guys like David Edwards, and he's had some success. David Edwards has a Super Bowl ring. He got it with the Los Angeles Rams. But when you talk about this, you take these guys, they can move, they can run, and by running, and it's funny, and if I hope I'm not getting too complex, but defensive linemen play gaps. And when an offensive line moves, the gap moves with them. So you have to make sure as a D lineman you stay in the gap. So if a offensive lineman is moving laterally, when I say laterally, I mean horizontally. When he's doing those things, that defensive lineman has to be on his aiming point and run down the line with him. So therefore, without a bunch of physicality trying to move dudes point A to point B, north and south, as we would call it, you get a tremendous amount of movement because you got linemen running, D linemen are trying to stay on their aiming points and they're moving. And now when you have a patient back like James Cook, he can delay, put his foot in the ground, hop back behind it. When I say hop back behind it, I mean if we're running to the right, his patience will take him back behind either the center or the left guard, or in some cases, when we're in jumbo package with Alec Anderson or Dion is on the end of the line and they collapse the end of the line of scrimmage, they blow it all down inside. Cook can even hop behind that as well. So a tremendous zone running back who is drafted to be a pass catcher. And hopefully this season, and like I said, it's a touchy subject because as you're taking this, right, and you're trying to, thank you, Spanky, I appreciate that. As you're taking this guy and you're making him more and more successful, again, the cash register goes ching, ching, ching every time he has success. So those are some of the things that you have to look at. But this comment here about the weak side formation runs just shows you the type of running back that he is. And Cook's had tremendous amounts of success behind a very, very good Buffalo Bills offensive line. Now, as I said earlier, we're looking at this like being in a courtroom. You got the Bills on one side of the room and their representation. You got James Cook on the other side of the room, his representation. We're looking 50-50 right now. We don't know what the jury's going to say as far as what we've seen so far, ranked 8th and all those different things. Now number 89 in the top 100, which is, big time when you think about all the players. Here to me could possibly be the dagger for James Cook and his argument that he deserves the money that he deserves. Now, before I talk about this, and this is from Bill Barnwell at ESPN, okay? And he does a deal. And like I said, we're in the middle of list season, folks. You're not going to hear the Big O talk about, and I just spoke about myself in third person or whatever, or first person, however you say it. I apologize. But you're not going to hear me put up, give me the Mount Rushmore of this or the Mount Rushmore of that. I do sports radio, have for a living for a long time. And, this is Mount Rushmore season. And you're not going to hear me talk about this. But when I talk about this Bill Barnwell piece, and what he did was he ranked all 32 teams as far as wide receiver, tight end, and running back talent. He's doing grouping rankings right now. Okay. Hear what I said. Wide receiver, tight end, running back. Josh Allen's not involved in this. All right. Josh Allen is not involved in this. So please do not bring Josh Allen up, because we're not talking about Josh Allen. But this, to me, right here by Barnwell is probably the biggest dagger as far as James Cook proving why he deserves the money that he wants. And like I said, this isn't about me coming out and giving my opinion. I'm giving you information. You make the decision you want to make. Okay? You make the decision you want to make. But Barnwell, who had the Buffalo Bills in 2023 ranked number 20 with wide receiver, tight end, running back group, in 24, mind you, minus who? Stephon Diggs, had them ranked number 24. If you look at this season, Bill Barnwell has the wide receiver, tight end, and running back ranking of the Buffalo Bills at 28th in the league. 28th in the league. And here's what he has to say about this. A lot of it's not good, but it's really good about one piece. And we'll get into that. It just so happens to be the piece we're talking about on today's Big O show right here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, powered by Believe. Barnwell says this probably feels low for one of the league's best offenses, but star quarterback Josh Allen has been removed from the equation. While general manager Brandon Beane might disagree, and this is what I've been talking about for quite some time this offseason, everybody eats to me is a marketing slogan. It gives validity to what they're doing in the front office at the wide receiver position. He says, while general manager Brandon Beane might disagree, this is likely the least imposing group of receivers in the NFL. Let me repeat that. This is likely the least imposing group of receivers in the NFL on paper. Khalil Shakir continues to improve and average an impressive 2.4 yards per route run last season, but virtually every other Buffalo pass catcher failed to take a leap forward. Dalton Kincaid failed to top 55 receiving yards in a game. Now, we all know that he had his injury situations and all of that. Second round pick, Keon Coleman averaged 19.2 yards per catch, but he wasn't able to command a consistent role in the lineup and had just 3 catches of 46 on 46 routes in the postseason. Again, we know that he was hurt with the wrist injury, and as a rookie, probably did not come back the way he should. Second year, I expect a lot more out of Keon Coleman, especially the way I feel that he has embraced the fact that he is a big physical wideout, and he needs to quit worrying about everybody using the S word, which is separation, and all of those things, and he needs to go back to being a bully, because that's what he is. Bully receivers are good. They make their own separation by their strength, size, and athletic ability, and I hope that Keon knows that and sees that. He goes on to say, free agent addition Curtis Samuel was often anonymous. I agree with that comment. And quite possibly, depending upon how things go, maybe a candidate to be traded sometime during this fall camp. And while Mac Hollins exceeded expectations, remember, I want Bills fans to remember this as I take a sip of my soda. When they signed Mac Hollins, most people were losing their minds. Oh, he's just a camp space. He's just a filler. He's just filling space for camp. Ends up being the most reliable receiver on the team last year, probably. Again, while Mac Hollins exceeded expectations, he has been replaced by former Chargers wideout Joshua Palmer. So that's what he goes on to say about the receivers and the tight ends. Now this, as we are bringing this into evidence, the breakout belonged to running back James Cook, whose touchdown rate rebounded way past the mean. After racking up just 4 scores on 326 carries years 1 and 2, he scored 16 times on 207 carries in year 3. Cook has proved to be a great zone runner, hence what we talked about earlier, and showed off more big play ability in 2024, but I'd be surprised if his touchdown total didn't land somewhere between 2 and 16 this season. There's a very useful running back rotation between Cook, sophomore Ray Davis, and third down option Ty Johnson. But with these rankings weighing receivers over backs, the Bills fall toward the bottom of the charts. I think that is probably right now, if you look at it, the number one argument. You look at the receiver room, folks. Say what you will. Ride hard with this everybody eats thing. But also understand what everybody eats means. You don't got a number one. We're still waiting for Dalton Kincaid to show up as the guy that Brandon Beane traded up in front of the Dallas Cowboys to draft, to be that vertical tight end in the passing game that we all want and would cherish in this offense. Don't sleep on the other tight ends either. I mean, they're there and they're pretty viable too, but still not talked about. And while he did talk about the 3-back rotation, the main guy last year, besides the guy omitted in this paragraph because of quarterbacks weren't included, James Cook. And you could say that he was the number one reason after Josh Allen that this offense did what they did. Now, granted, you will hear me say the same thing, that offensive line is highly important. It is. And a very, very productive, very, very good offensive line can make an average back look good, but can also take a really good back and make him look almost elite. I think the rub here and the thing that that everybody wants to know about is this. Does James Cook go to another team? Will they do the things that he needs done to be productive? And can he have this type of season and those types of production lines behind another offensive line? Is the line as good as we think it is? Or is James Cook much better than we give him credit for? And I think that's the way you got to look at this, folks. As we're sitting here trying to make a case, or James Cook is making the case for the Buffalo Bills and Brandon Beane to give him the money that he wants. And I think that's what the final, as far as closing arguments go, taking Josh Allen out of the equation. Does James Cook make this offensive line better than it is, or does this offensive line make James Cook better than he really is? Honestly, probably a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both, especially with the way that he is produced in the zone scheme and the way that he has absolutely embraced the way Aaron Kromer and this Bills offense runs the football. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this season. The disgruntled back going into his last year, wants more money. I think when you look at it, the first 2 years were decent. Third year, he blows up. There's a lot of people out there that don't believe that he'll have that type of season, that maybe it was kind of a fluke. Michael Fabiano of CBS Sports says Cook is coming off a magical season in terms of end zone visits, scoring 18 times. He scored just 9 combined touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. So this was a major uptick, and it's likely to come with some regression in 2025. Cook is also looking at a potential holdout over a contract dispute, which we know are not going to happen, which has not been a good situation for many players in the past. Keep tabs on Cook's status. So there you have it. There's all the information. if you watch enough Big O shows, you know how I feel about it. Remember, watch Bill's Squad Mondays and Thursdays, 12 Eastern, 11 Central Time. Myself, Joe Marino, Jeremy White. It is summertime, so we will kind of bounce around with hosts throughout the month of July before we get into our solid lineup again in August as the Bills get ready to head to St. John Fisher towards the end of July. So, again, we're 60 days out. It's list time, folks. And just a little bit of information for you to make your own decisions. And again, thanks for everybody that's been over in the comments. I appreciate you as always. Thank you very, very much. Again, please subscribe, like the show, tell your friends. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because it helps us out. And we appreciate you as always. If you miss these shows, you can always check us on all the major podcasting platforms the next day. If you want to listen to the show as you roll into work or you're hanging out at the pool or the house or whatever, because it is summertime. But I appreciate you. Make your decision, folks. What's James Cook worth? There's a lot of people out there that think he's worth quite a bit. And I do know one thing. We'll find out soon. And he is a very good football player. So thanks as always, folks. Big O, Jerry Ostrowski. I'll be back next Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are powered by Believe. Thanks as always, folks. Much love. Go Bills.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma. Same old dreams hanging off my shoulders. Wishing and waiting on a shoe.